Oh, hello there once again. The summer series of shows continues here on the sheet. Glad to have you aboard. Pierre McGuire coming up in a couple of moments. A few things to get to. And a few things to go over. Some of the things not exactly surprising. By the way, does it seem really dark in here? Let me fix the light. Hang on. Hey. There we go. That's better. Oh, man, my hair looks bad. Turn that light off again. Man, I gotta get these feathers cut. So lots to get to today. Pierre McGuire is going to stop by in a couple of moments. But before we get started here, he is back from the land of lemons, cork, and diving dogs. He is Zach Phillips, who has returned, and thanks to Vacation Vic, who turned into really incarcerated Vic. I don't know if you watched much of what was happening while you were gone, Zach, but it was like Vic was doing the show, producing the program from a prison cell with his blank white wall. I'm like, what are you doing? Like 10 to 15 for what, bud? Anyway, welcome back. And I gave you homework before you left. I wanted a report on lemons, cork, and diving dogs. It's all I know about. It's all my stereotypes about Portugal, where I've always wanted to go. So I'm super envious that you went. How was it, first of all?
It was amazing. Weather was amazing. I also, like, everywhere you went. So I've not really done a trip like that. No, not lemon trees. Okay. So I was going to say I went 2 of the 3, but I was going to say I've never walked around everywhere and just been like, I feel like I'm in a movie. I've been to Disney, and you know when you go to the little villages and you're like, oh, yeah, they built this because it's a very scenic and movie picturesque type of that's just their homes and restaurants and shops and streets. And that was everywhere I went, where in my brain at first it was like, this is like a Disney movie. And then it was like, no. This is real life. The Disney movies are like made because these things exist. So
that's a good way to put it.
But
that's good. That's a very good way
I went 2 for 3 , Jeff.
Oh, okay.
Cork,
not bad. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, what can you tell me about cork?
Well, they have cork trees, and the one place I went to in Sintra, it was a little day trip we did. There's castles in the hills and all this stuff. They had what the tour guide said, so maybe this is just a sell point, but he called the largest cork tree in Portugal.
Oh, no way.
That, to me, sounds like a sell job to get you to go there, but
whatever.
We walked by the tour guide who was doing the tour and stopped and said, look here's the largest cork tree in Portugal. And I stopped and I'm staring at this tree and my girlfriend goes, the hell are you looking at? And I'm like, well.
Well, it's the biggest cork tree in Portugal. hon. See, America got this thing about cork, which I don't know where it is on the list of exports for Portugal, but I understand that at one point in Portugal's history it was quite high. It was quite high. So next time you open up a wine bottle, think of Portugal. And what else you got? Diving dogs or lemons?
The dogs. All
right.
Diving, but swimming more so.
Yep.
But there was dogs everywhere, street dogs everywhere. Go down to the water. They're in the water. They're around the water. Like, they're everywhere. So check those 2 off. Lemons, I can, but can't. It would be a fake checked box if I checked it off, because
you see lemon trees.
There's lemons everywhere, but I didn't see the trees. So
a lot of lemons, like all over Portugal. I start every day with a glass of lemon water. I squeeze a full lemon into this, and that starts my day.
Okay. Yeah.
So you saw lemons and lemon trees everywhere.
Didn't see the trees. I didn't see the trees, but I saw there was lemons everywhere with like everything. So
all right.
Got those.
Now let me give you a quick story. When I was in Beijing in 2008, I was working for CBC. I was doing the Olympics, and we got there, and Brenda Irving took us all out for dinner in downtown Beijing, and we went to this lovely place. Actually, it was Brenda and Jim Van Horn who were hosting that night. There was about maybe 15 of us, and so we went to this restaurant in downtown Beijing, and I remember getting up like after we all had a glass of wine, and I wanted just to go look around the restaurant, and I looked at the wine cellar. It was all encased in glass, and there were flags all around it. And one of the flags, this is where I'm going to draw this into hockey, one of the flags had a picture of Steve Yzerman on it. And I kind of went like, that's it, right? And then I'm sort of reminded, like, how many people have walked by and seen that and said, like, oh, that's just like some random guy. But then if you're a hockey fan, you walk by and go like, dude, why Steve Eisman on a flag at this really nice restaurant in downtown Beijing, all around the wine cellar and glass? And it served to me as a reminder that if you look hard enough, you can find hockey everywhere. And that was my hockey is everywhere moment, and that's one that I always talk about. A 23-hour flight to get to Beijing, and one of the first things I see when I go out to dinner is Steve Yzerman's face. Hockey is everywhere. Did you have a hockey is everywhere moment in Portugal at all, or was it the land hockey forgot? Which does sound nice too, by the way.
No, it's more the land hockey forgot. I actually did look up while I was there, like, is there hockey here? Are there ice rinks? The answer to that would be no, there are not. Like, Portugal just kind of seems like that's just, it's soccer, only soccer. That's the only thing that you're going to find. Mm-hmm. Now, I did say to my girlfriend while we're going around, I'm like, I haven't seen soccer fields. Like, I haven't seen any. Where would they be? Yeah. And then we flew from Portugal to Madeira, the island of Madeira, and on the way out and then on the way back in, it's hard to miss soccer fields. You can basically like throw a stone from one soccer field to the other, pick up the stone, and then throw it to the next one. Like they're just bouncing around everywhere. But it was just a very cool experience, a very cool trip. The one thing I will say that was kind of funny, which like you think about how we talk about here, how hockey is everything. Soccer, every kid has a ball on their foot. Every single kid is wearing a Ronaldo jersey. Yeah, and to the point where every other street is a store called Força Portugal. And it is the Portuguese national team selling all their jerseys. And then you can buy, obviously, each individual team. But then they have a statue in every store, like 100%. Every store has a statue of Ronaldo wearing the full kit. I thought that was pretty funny. I'm like, makes sense. Like, it's not like that outlandish, but you kind of walk around and you go, oh, yeah, these people really care. And, oh, yeah, this country produced maybe the second best player in the history of the sport.
Was anybody complaining that, oh, it's too much pressure on these little babies? Oh, there's too much stress. How can they perform? Send for the fainting couches. Oh, these poor little athletes. There's so much. They're building statues. Oh, my goodness. Was there any of that conversation? And I want to transition to hockey here, but was there any conversation like that young Zach Phillips? The answer is no. The answer is no, by the way.
No, there was not. There was not. That wasn't a thing. No.
Let's get to what we have in store for today, which includes signings and retirements and, well, surprise commitments to some, to MSU. We're going to get there here in a couple of seconds. Want to remind you, as always, Daily Outline, powered by our friends and presenters at FanDuel. Make every moment more with North America's #1 sportsbook, and that is FanDuel. It might be Monday, July 21st, but we have things to talk about. And we'll talk about them with the one and only Pierre McGuire. We'll talk about the CHL versus NCAA, although really, I don't know that it's really one or the other or one versus the other. The recruiting war is still in effect, but somewhere down the road here, and maybe I'm just sort of biasing the conversation, we're just starting to see the beginning of what's going to be a new understanding of the development model in hockey. We'll talk about the offseason and what we've seen so far. We will talk about Porter Martone, ex of Brampton, on his way to MSU. And we'll talk about, I want to talk about Blake Wheeler too. And now with, I guess there's only two, Zach Bogosian and Evander Kane. Now that Blake Wheeler has officially retired, we wonder who will be the last Thrasher. And as Ben Wright is out there. Ben used to do social media for the Atlanta Thrashers. And if/when Atlanta gets another hockey team, I really hope that there's a job for Ben in media, albeit, social or linear or digital, wherever. I just hope that Ben is involved because he always, I know I'm going to say this and he's going to send me a DM or he's going to send me a text. Don't forget about Ben Sherratt, even though Ben Sherratt never played a game for the Atlanta Thrashers. He was still drafted by the Atlanta Thrashers. This segment, by the way, is a presentation of Simply Spiked. Summer is here, hanging out in the great weather with great friends. You just kind of want that feeling to last forever. Well, you can squeeze every drop out of summer with Simply Spiked. Simply Spiked has 3 delicious flavors. The OG Summer Classic, Simply Spiked Lemonade, is always a party favorite. Try a sweet and juicy summer sip with Simply Spiked Peach. Or check out the newest flavor in the Simply Spiked lineup. That is Simply Spiked Limeade. It is sweet and it is tart. And if you don't know which one to try, just try all of them. Simply Spiked Variety Pack is always up for grabs. This juice beverage and all of them are 5% alcohol. They contain real fruit juice and are the perfect, refreshing, and convenient summer drink. Simply Spiked pairs perfectly with any summer occasion. Summer hangs, backyard, pool parties, barbecues, you name it. Simply Spiked launched in Canada in 2023 and has been bringing the juiciness ever since. Pick up Simply Spiked at your local liquor store for your next summer hangout. Must be legal drinking age. Please celebrate responsibly. And joining us to talk about a number of things, even though we're starting to get deep into July here, the hockey world continues. The one and only Pierre McGuire. Pierre, first of all, how are you enjoying your summer so far?
I've been watching a lot of hockey still and talking to a lot of hockey people. And
you have?
So I know you were at a baseball event yesterday and
yes.
most of the weekend, but I've been focusing in on hockey and moving, actually. All that is good. But I heard you talking about the Atlanta Thrashers.
Yeah.
Donnie Waddell's still working with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He was their general manager.
Yes, absolutely.
And I got one more for you. Robert Hartley has just taken another job in the KHL. So Bob Hartley's still.
Where's Bob Hartley? Where's Bob Hartley now in the K?
He's in the K somewhere. I forgot where, but he is definitely going to the K. Gerard Gallant is going to the KHL as well. He's going to Kowloon.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on in the hockey world. I know you're baseball centric, but you're also hockey.
I'll do my douchey baseball / hockey dad thing. I was there with my 2012 in Aberdeen, Maryland. It was one of one of those Ripken tournaments. I don't know if you've heard about. They are phenomenal. So we were just outside of Baltimore in Aberdeen for going back to last Wednesday. Therefore, he did this.
Go ahead. Finish.
I was gonna say he did the Sandusky one last year in Ohio, and then that has like a big water park attached to it and all that. But the thing about the one in Aberdeen is all the different fields, and I think there were 6 of them. My kid was playing on the Yankees modeled field. All the fields are modeled after like PNC and Citibank. Like they look gore, and they're all turfed and just like pulling money off the tree to build these things. So it was a phenomenal experience for the kids. Just tremendous. And the kids made it to the semifinals and lost to a team from West Virginia who, even though they're all 13 years old, I saw a couple of them drive to the game themselves. I think half the team already had to shave and a couple were putting out cigarettes on the bench. But anyhow, I digress. Not that I'm bitter.
When you drive by those Ripken fields, it's pretty spectacular to go by and
absolutely.
See them.
Yes.
Yep. Number 2, Aberdeen. This is for the historical people. Aberdeen, for a good portion of World War II, a lot of the logistics were run through Aberdeen, Maryland, when they put tanks and things through Aberdeen to go over. Yeah, the Aberdeen testing ground. So anyways, that's another story.
Further to that, there's a lot of like restaurants and coffee shops and stores, and a lot of them are dedicated to the men and women, and I will always add animals as well. The men, women, and animals who served for the country. So you know what? Now that you mentioned, and I didn't know that, but now that you mentioned it, it makes complete sense that Aberdeen was a hub.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty amazing historical place. It's got a lot of relevancy. Anyways, that being said, congratulations to the team on doing
Thanks,
well.
Pierre.
And experience a great part of the United States. Aberdeen's a very historical part of the United States.
Beautiful. I listen. You know what's great? Driving through Pennsylvania is beautiful. Driving through upstate New York is just gorgeous. And most of the driving was done not at night, but during the day. So you really got a good appreciation, a great vibe of a beautiful part of the country. So you mentioned Atlanta Thrashers. Do you have a feeling on who might be the last Thrasher on the ice? And I'm going to exclude Ben Sherratt because he never played for the Thrashers. We're down to 2. We're down to Bogosian. We're down to Evander Kane. My money is on Kane, but what do you think?
I'm going to say this. Zach has outlived his lifetime in the league. I'm blown away. Like, I know his family really well. Yeah. You know, I coached at St. Lawrence University. They're a Messina, New York family. Zach Bogosian's father, this is for the football people in our audience, his dad was a co-captain of Syracuse University football The other co-captain was a guy named Little Joe Morris, who went on to have an unbelievable career, especially for Bill Parcells and the New York Giants. So the Bogosian family, they're legendary in upstate New York, especially in Messina. And Zach's one brother, I believe, was a Navy SEAL, and if he wasn't, he was a deep guy in terms of military ops. And he still works for the Minnesota Wild, Zach's brother. He's one of their skill coaches and development coaches. So there's a lot of tradition there. I can't believe Zach's still playing, but man, oh man, he's a tough cookie. I think Kane lasts the longest, though. I think Evander will last the longest.
I'm just going to keep as long as, and I say this about a lot of players too, and I don't mind it. I like the idea that they have to drag you off the ice kicking and screaming. I don't believe in the leave the stage while they're still clapping. I think as long as someone wants to pay, really either one of these guys, I think they're just going to stay. But now here's one, and I'm going to be honest with you, Pierre. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so you can probably tell me otherwise. I think that Zach Bogosian is part of a record that might stand for all time. And that is the biggest age gap between a pair of defensemen. When he was a rookie in Atlanta, he was paired with Chris Chelios. And that age gap, I'm going to guess, and someone's going to correct me here, must have, I mean, it's got to be close to 30 years between the two of them. I'm going to go ahead and guess that was the biggest age gap between any two defensemen who were paired in the history of the NHL. Again, I'm just speculating off the top of my head. I don't know if it's the real answer, but I can't think of one that would be more than an 18-year-old Zach Bogosian and a who knows how old Chris Chelios was at the time, but they were a pair for like a dozen games. Yeah, for sure.
I have one that's close, but it's not as good as that one. I was a coach at Hartford. I had an 18 turning 19-year-old Chris Pronger.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to the late Brad McCrimmon, who was part of our team, and I said, Beast, I'm going to ask you for a favor. I'd like you to babysit and look after this kid because I know the experience you have. And he looks right at me and he goes, it'd be my pleasure. He goes, plus, I've been doing this my whole career. Think about it for a second. He says to me, I did it for Mark Howe. I did it for Raymond Bork. And I did it for a guy named Nick Lidstrom. So I think I can handle Pronger. Yeah. I think I can handle Pronger. And it worked. It worked really well. And Chris, to this day, and I've talked to Chris a fair number of times, he will tell you that was a perfect way for him to break into the NHL, to have somebody like the late, great Brad McCrimmon as a mentor and role model. Beast was amazing. I loved being around him. Had the privilege over my career to coach a lot of special guys. He's right up near the top. He's an amazing guy. He was an amazing guy.
The Brad McCrimmon story is a fascinating one. And Pierre, everybody that I hear ever talk about Brad McCrimmon all talk in this exact same way that you are about him. The stories of him in junior hockey playing with the Brandon Wheat Kings are legendary. I don't know how many times he did this, but he was known to play 60 minutes. He was known in junior hockey to never leave the ice. I don't know if that was reserved for special playoff games, but there were games where Beast never left the ice. And, you know, it's funny, too, because I'm glad you mentioned Mark Howe. And I swear we're going to talk about news that's going on right now, folks, but when I got it with Pierre, like, forget about it. You know the deal. I still think that one of the most underrated blue lines that we've ever seen was that Flyers blue line. With McCrimmon, Howe, Crossman, Marsh, and J.J. Daigneault.
Fair. Don't forget Big Shell, though. Don't forget Shell Samuelson.
Yeah.
Shelly played for us in Pitt. So Shelly was part of a huge trade. Traded Paul Coffey and Mark Rector to Philadelphia. Craig Patrick did. I was part of the staff. And we got back Shell Samuelson, Rick Tocchet, and Kenny Reagan. Mm-hmm. And we ended up winning the cup. And I can tell you right now, Shelly was as tough as any guy we ever had. And Alfie was tough, and Larry Murphy was tough, and Gordy Roberts, Jimmy Pack, Paul Stan, all those guys. But I saw Shell Samuelson go through an entire play, and I changed the defense and worked with him. Never saw a guy deal with pain management like Shell Samuelson, ever.
You mentioned Ken Reggett. I'm going to throw a dart. I don't know if you were on the bench for this, but I'm really going to cross my fingers and hope that you were. Were you on the Penguins bench when Ken Reggett and Wendell Young changed on the fly? Two goalies changing on the... Oh, awesome! Give me the story. Give me the story. This is great.
That's a Bowmanism. Scotty did that.
Yeah.
And we were playing the Rangers, and the game didn't matter much. We were in New York. And Scotty says, here's what I want. I want to work on our face-offs and puck control. So we're going to win face-offs, and we're going to change our goalies on the fly because we're going to manage the puck. We're not going to let the Rangers get the puck. Now, I was the one that was changing him because I was closest to where the backup goalie was. So the answer is yes, I was there. I was on the.
Well, now that was, I want to say it was a game at M. I know it was against the Rangers.
No, it was at MSG.
It was at MSG. Because I remember talking to Ken Reggett just off the air about it. It's about the origin, like, are we really gonna do this, and how they're planning it, and the puck had to be deep in the Rangers zone before they did it, and the puck had turned over. I think it was Messier was leading a rush on the way back as they were you guys were changing goalies on the fly, and I believe that you'll know better than me. Scotty Bowman got the idea, and I should ask Scotty about this, where he got it from specifically, but he talked about an old coach, I want to say from the 50s, who would change goaltenders regularly throughout the game and won the Stanley Cup doing it. And Bowman had mentioned in an interview that that's where he got the inspiration from, and he always wanted to do it. And he said, and finally with this Penguins team, he said, I think we can do it. I think we can change goalies on the fly, and you guys could for sure.
We did. But, you made a really good point before about guys getting carried off the ice just playing till the end. Brian Trottier was on that team, Jeff. And Brian was a critically important part of our 91 Cup team and 92 Cup team because of leadership. He was one of the few guys that had won, and he understood the importance of face-offs. Ronnie Francis got that. Mario got that. Randy Gillen got that. But nobody got it more than Brian Trottier. Brian really got that. And I'm telling you, he was like an extension of the coaching staff. He was phenomenal to be around. I loved my time with Brian Trottier. I talked to him as much as I can. He just had his 69th birthday. We were texting back and forth. So Brian made a big impact on those teams. And we couldn't have done it without a guy like that. There's no way. But that was, just so everybody out there knows, Scotty had a lot of great mentors, but I think his greatest mentor was probably the late Toe Blake. Toe Blake gave Scotty a lot of ideology over the course of his life. Scotty was a scout for Montreal. He was coaching the juniors when Toe was coaching Montreal Canadiens. And Scotty spent a lot of time around their group. And I know through osmosis, because we were roommates, how much he revered Toe Blake. Scotty really did.
I wonder if it might have been Toe Blake that did that then. I really do wonder. I really do wonder if it could have.
Ask Scotty too. I'm going to ask him about it today when we're done. I'll ask him.
Okay. While you're talking about that, ask Scotty why he used Larry Robinson as a winger for some shifts in the Canada Cup '76.
Well, probably for matchups. But one of the big, you would remember this. This is for our younger audience, because I don't want to say to the older people, you don't remember that, because I think they do.
Of course.
The Canadians used to start penalty kills back in the day with the big three: Lapointe, Savard, and Robinson. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they'd go with 4D, and Serge would take the face-offs. And I don't know how much people remember that.
But hang on. Listen, through the 60s, and I think about Alan Stanley specifically with Toronto, defensemen would take draws. Look at how many draws Ray Bourque won. Like, Ray Bourque took draws for the Boston. Like, Bourque won draws. Like, this was, I know it may sound weird now when you talk to people about it, but there was a time that a lot of coaches just liked the way that it lined up to have their defensemen taking draws.
Well, I just remember Serge, Larry, Guy, and then Bill Nyrop, the late Bill Nyrop.
Bill Nyrop, wow, yeah.
And Bill Nyrop's an amazing story. The late Ronnie Caron, he used to be like, I'm going to break the mold. I'm going to find a guy here. I'm going to find it. So, like, he found Larry Plow. You start Ralph Batch, and he starts finding all these guys all over the place from Montreal. And he goes to Notre Dame, and he finds this gigantically huge, amazingly athletic guy from Edina, Minnesota, named Bill Nyrop. Yeah. And they draft Billy. And Billy comes in and does unbelievably well. But he's a defensive, shutdown guy. And I'll never forget this. When I first got to Pittsburgh, we were at training camp. Scotty and I were walking through the stands, and this big guy, with a real good-looking guy, comes up. It was Bill Nyrop. He was coaching our East Coast League team in Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he had just gotten the job. And, Bill did a good job working with us and loved him to death. I had so many good visits. And, unfortunately, he passed away out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. But he was a great Montreal Canadian for the time he was there. He was tough as nails, too.
He sure was. There's a lot of unsung guys on that Montreal Canadiens team, and that's the team. Just one last thing. That's the team that I always point to, Pierre, when people say you can't win cups without big centers. I go, oh, yeah. Go look at that Montreal Canadiens dynasty in the 70s and go tell me who was a monster down the middle. None of them were.
Only one guy I'd say it was large, and that was Pete.
Pete Mahovlich. Pete
was tall, but everybody else, Jacques Lemaire was not a big guy. Henri Richard was not a big guy. Dougie Riseborough was thick, but he wasn't gigantic.
Wasn't an oak tree.
I'll tell you what, and it's one of the first times they had an 18-year-old on their team. That Mario Tremblay was tough as freaking nails, Jeff. Yeah. He was an 18-year-old kid from way up in Chicoutimi, that area, and he came down to Montreal. Oh, my gosh. He was a madman. He was tough as nails.
And speaking of which, Gilles Lupien was on that team too, Pierre.
Gilles Lupien, Yvon Lambert, Rick Chartrand. They had a few tough guys on that team.
Yeah,
people forget, it all started when Larry went down to Philly and beat up Dave Schultz.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of the end. Larry beat him up. And there was another part to that doesn't get talked about enough. Larry hit, and it's an amazing call. I think it was Danny Gallivan that made the call. Larry hit Gary Dornhofer into the boards of the Forum in Montreal and actually broke the boards.
Didn't he break his hip or something? That was a punishing body check. Swung out to the boards and just it was a vicious and clean body check from Big Bird.
Totally clean.
Great hit.
But that's the misnomer on those great Canadiens teams. They were like, oh, yeah, they had all this skill, and they were the Flying Frenchmen.
They were tough, man.
They had a lot of tough guys.
They were tough customers, dude. They were like the Islanders that came after. They'd play it any way you want it. Okay, so Porter Martone.
Speaking of tough guys.
Speaking of big tough hockey players, Porter Martone. I don't think it's been made official yet. I'm not sure that Ivankovich to Michigan is made official yet, but that's gonna. I think that official announcement comes today. But Porter Martone, 6th overall draft pick, Philadelphia Flyers. I'll tell you, I feel for James Richmond of the Brampton Steelheads, who's lost Luke Misa, who's lost Jack Ivankovich, and who's now lost Porter Martone to Division I hockey. I keep telling people, this is just the new reality of how the develop model is going to work. Everything's more pronounced now. The nerves are really close to the skin. This is all, cast in the shadow of the commitment by Gavin McKenna to Penn State. I just say everything just seems new and fresh and really emotional right now, but this is how this whole thing is just going to settle in. How did you greet the Porter Martone news today?
I think it was incorporated with not just the agency that represents Porter Martone. I think the Philadelphia Flyers had a lot to say about it, and I think there became an aggressive search to get Porter Martone when Gavin McKenna did not commit to Michigan or Michigan State, but did commit to Penn State. They're all part of the Big Ten. I think you're going to see unbelievable action long-term in the Big Ten and in Hockey East and then even in the NCHC because there's going to be big NIL money involved. I'm pretty sure Gavin McKenna is making over $700,000 to play at Penn State. I'm sure Porter Martone's not going to Michigan State for free. And this is for our Canadian audience more than anybody else. Those schools aren't doing anything illegal. NIL, name, image, and likeness, is a very real part of the athletic community in the United States today, especially at the collegiate level. And Jeff, as you know, and this is important, those Big Ten schools, they make their living off of basketball and football TV money.
Yep.
And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. And, like I talked about Hockey East before. Hockey East got Boston College, who's in the ACC, but none of their other schools are getting that kind of money. So watch for Boston College. Maybe not so much this year, but down the road, they're going to have probably $80 to $85 million of TV money coming in every year, and they're going to be able to spend some of that. So it's the way college athletics is going. I don't have a problem with it. I think Porter Martone's going in a great situation. Michigan State's an amazingly well-run team. Big Ten's a huge brand of hockey. They were a bit down last year. They're going to be up this year. And I think Danny Beer and Keith Jones said this is probably the best place for this guy to go right now.
So let me ask you this one. I sort of canvassed around a little bit on it this morning. I'm curious your thoughts. So I was, after the Martone news this morning, was texting back and forth with a former communications director from an NHL team, one of my favorites too. And he said to me, do you think that there's any way, given, a lot of the star power that has gone stateside, and think of Gavin McKenna and now certainly Porter Martone, he said, do you think that there's any way that the NCAA could do a deal with the NHL to play NCAA games at NHL arenas during the Olympic break?
I don't know if they could do it this year. I think it'd be a tight fit. I don't know why they wouldn't try to. I'll give you, I'm not going to tell you exactly everything, but I've talked to a commissioner of a college hockey league to try to get two women's teams, two men's teams to play during the Olympic break in a Canadian city. So I've proposed that to a commissioner of a league, one, to try to bring visibility to their league, and two, to try to help grow the women's game even more. Because I think with all this stuff going on, little piece of the women's game might get forgotten. So he was amenable to that, and we're going to try to do something here in the next little while. But I think that's a brilliant idea. I just don't know if they'll be able to do it this year. It's going to be tight.
It's interesting. I know that, Michigan State plays and it's 20,000 and everybody's going crazy, but just like the allure of like one of these games and the two markets that were mentioned, one would be Pittsburgh and the other would be Detroit to play either of those rinks. Okay.
Yeah. Could you imagine? Let's put a game in St. Paul, Minnesota. It'd sell out immediately. University of Minnesota and Penn State, they're both in the Big Ten. Yeah. Let's take a game into Boston and do a Hockey East game for the sake of argument. Boston College, BU, they already play the Beanpot, so let's cancel one of them out. And let's just say BU is playing, because BU is going to be stacked this year. Yeah. Let's play BU and Providence. Providence is going to be stacked too, and they got a great coach. Guarantee they're going to sell it out. Guaranteed. So do I think there's opportunity to do it? The answer is yeah, I do.
One other thing on this issue, we haven't had a chance to speak since Gavin McKenna made his decision. Now, a lot of people, everything in life right now, and this is all because of social media, everything is binary. Everything is ones and zeros, good and bad. There's no gray anymore. You have to consider this. No, it's just, this is either going to be great or a disaster. One side is going to be great and the other side is going to be an absolute disaster. When in reality, it's never like that. But given the reality of what we've seen with Gavin McKenna, how do you see the future of the CHL specifically?
Really strong. It's just going to have to be adjusted. So what I think is going to happen, you're going to see 15 and 16 and 17 and even 18-year-old players playing, probably more 16, 17, and 18 playing major junior hockey. And I think you're going to see a lot of American kids come north of the border. I think the problems is going to be, how's the USHL going to fare? Is the NAL, the NAHL, how are they going to fare? And what's going to happen to prep school hockey in New England, which is a huge driving force for a lot of these universities, especially in the East Coast. What's going to happen to them? I talked to some administrators over the weekend, and they're not as optimistic as maybe I would have been 2 months ago. It sounds like they're a little bit concerned. So here's what I think. I think junior hockey is going to still be a very huge developmental league. And some young men are going to be able to play college hockey at 18. But I can tell you right now, comfortably, having had a son that played Division I hockey for 2 different schools, one in the ECAC and one in Hockey East, it's going to be hard for 18-year-olds to play college hockey. I think you're going to have to be 19 and maybe even 20 to come and play, which is about what it is now. So I don't think it does a lot of damage to junior hockey. In fact, I think there's going to be a way where they're all going to be able to fit it in and work really well together. And hopefully that's the case. But I don't think you're going to see the ruination of major junior hockey. I really don't.
Do you think that? And again, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but this is coming off a couple of conversations actually early on last year. Do you think we get to a place where there are certain teams in the CHL that direct their players when/if they are ready to very specific schools, i.e. affiliations between, I don't know, take your pick, London and Michigan, or Medicine Hat and Penn State? Like, do you think it gets? Because I'm wondering about this. Right now, it's still, and we're still used to this adversarial tug and pull between the two sides here. But do you think this eventually could settle itself into, once the reality of it dawns on everybody and everyone understands how this is going to work, we actually start to see schools and teams cooperating to guide players places?
Yeah, I do. And I lived it when I was coaching in college hockey. It wasn't so much teams in Canada that were doing that. It was leagues. So if you were playing out in southwestern Ontario, whether you were playing in Chatham or London or St. Thomas, more times than not, you were going to Michigan State or Bowling Green. You were going to play in the CCHA.
Right.
In my neck of the woods, St. Lawrence, we were hitting the Ottawa Valley really hard, and we were hitting Toronto East, and we were hitting the Maritimes, and we were hitting Quebec. And we were getting a lot of players directed our way, especially coming out of Quebec, because I had the ability to go and speak French and English. So, yeah, of course, I see that happening for sure. And here's the one thing that I find really interesting. Dakota's really good. You know that. I know that.
Well, yeah, very
Wisconsin's really good. You made a great point about Chris Chelios before, and I just want to say, what people forget about Chris Chelios, before he went to the University of Wisconsin, he was playing for Moose Jaw.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
he was playing in Moose Jaw. Nobody wants to talk about that.
Didn't Duncan Keith do the same?
So Duncan Keith went to Michigan State. Left Michigan State and went to play for Kelowna Rockets when Mark Habscheid was a coach there. And one of his defense partners was a guy named Shea Weber.
Yeah. That's it's funny you mentioned we're talking about defensemen here, because Wisconsin was always the D factory for American defenders, and Kelowna was a defense factory for Canadian defensemen.
Tyler Myers, right. Shea Weber, Duncan Keith,
Josh Georges, keep going.
Like you can go down the line. It's amazing. So back in those days, we're going back in the early 2000s. Mark Habscheid used to call me up and say, "Hey, do you got any time? I'd be in Calgary or Edmonton or Vancouver with Gordon Miller doing games." I'd be, "Yeah, I got time. Could you come in and do a couple practice?" "Yeah, sure." So I'd go into Kelowna on an off day, do the practice. And I'll never forget this. I called up Ray Shero, the late Ray Shero once, and I said, "You better, whoever that scout was that told you to draft Shea Weber in the second round, you better give him a raise." It turned out to be Rick Knickel, the old goalie, if you remember Rick.
LA Kings goalie, Rick Knickel.
Yeah. So Rick was the guy doing all that interior scouting for Nashville at the time. So they stole you. Come on, there were two major steals in the second round of the 2003 draft. One was Patrice Bergeron. That was ridiculous.
Theft.
That was ridiculous.
Theft.
And the other one was Shea Weber. Like, come on. You got two guys that are going to be Hall of Fame. One's already in.
The thing that I always admired about Bergeron, and I admire this perpetual until he was like solidified in the NHL. Like, go look at him all the way. He was a perpetual rookie. Every year every year one level up. He lived a complete hockey life, including the American Hockey League, as a perpetual rookie until he finally was with the Boston Bruins and then played 2 years in a row in Boston. Perpetual rookie Patrice Bergeron. Yeah, I mean, I love the guy. One of my favorite players. We all love Bergeron, but like I just love the Bergeron story. Just adore it.
You know what really helped with him, and this is a lesson more about people being part of your team building plan. When they got Zdeno Chara from Ottawa, that was Peter Chiarelli because he knew him, and when they got Mark Recchi to come in and play in Boston, those two guys mentored Patrice to the point where I think it helped really redefine the player that he became. I really believe that.
Let me ask about a couple of more players here, specifically. One who's called it a career, and when I say the name, I know we're all going to talk about 2010 when he was just fantastic. But Yaroslav Halak, not a large goaltender, but what always impressed me about Halak was Halak played in this era where everything was a race to be a giant. You had to be 6'5" to be a goaltender. It seems now, I don't know how you feel about it. It seems now to me like the sweet spot for the size of a goaltender is like 6'3" right now. Before it was like, oh yeah, as big as you can get. 6'6", yeah, give me that. It seems like 6'3", maybe 6'2" is a goaltender. But, he was on the smallish side of things, 580 games, .915 save percentage.
Amazing.
.915 save percentage for a small-ish goaltender in the land of the Giants. Yaroslav Halak calls it a career. 2010 was just so special. And that was supposed to be, Carey Price is going to... No. Yaroslav Halak is not letting Carey Price take the Nets. Your thoughts on the career of Yaroslav Halak?
What a good question. And the way you phrased it is perfect, Jeff. So I'll just tell you this. As a kid who grew up in Montreal, the only place in Canada where the stop sign doesn't say stop, it says arrête.
That's right. Arrête.
It does. There's one thing it also was. It said halak. They were making
That's right. I forgot about that. That's right. They made the halak stop signs.
So it was amazing. I was living in Montreal at the time with our young children, and obviously they were into the hockey scene. They were all Canadiens fans. But what I got to tell you about Yaro, the most amazing thing to me is every time you met him, and I'm sure you probably had the same kind of feeling, he would be wanting to talk to you for hours.
Oh.
He loved to talk about the game. He was awesome. I was a huge fan.
I'll tell you once. There was one time when I was doing ringside for hockey night, I remember after one Habs practice, I was standing there with Halak, and because I'm always a geek for equipment, so I always ask guys like, "Hey, show me your gear, show me what you got." And we're going over his pads, and I can't remember for the life of me. One of the players came by and made some quip about how big the equipment is and how small Halak is. And he just ripped into this guy about the sticks and how you can't really shoot, and that is all your stick. Say whatever you want about me, stopping shots, but go get a wooden hockey stick and we'll go back on the. And it was just like he just like up and down, just undressed them about. You think that the equipment's aiding me too much? Let's talk about your sticks for a second here. You're a phony, you're a fraud, you can't shoot, you're just all stick. And I was like, I'm just standing there. I'm just like, I just want to see like what kind of buckles he uses on his pads. And next thing I know, here's Yaro Halak having a good go at this guy. It was hilarious.
Part of an amazing generation of Slovak-born players when you think about it. Yaro
big
Halak,
time.
Marian Hossa, Marian Gaborik. Like amazing. And when you think about it, don't forget the late Pavel Dimitri either.
Yeah.
He was part of that too. And so Pav passed away with Brad McCrimmon on the plane over in Russia.
Yep.
But those guys did so much in their community, and I think it really helped build Slovak hockey because remember, before that, it wasn't Slovakia. It was Czechoslovakia. So most of the great Slovaks never really got to play internationally unless their name was Stastny.
Yep.
So it's kind of interesting how it all worked out. And those guys made a big difference. They really made a big difference. I spent so much time over there back in the day. And, I can't say enough about what Z did, what the two Marians did, Gaborik and Hossa. And to me, Pavel Dimitri, I had the honor of coaching him, the late Pavel Dimitri. Those guys gave so much money back to Slovak hockey. They're iconic figures in Slovak hockey. And Yaro Halak's one of them, obviously.
It's interesting. You talked about a couple of seconds ago about Brian Thrasher, and he was one of the best in the eras of the great centers, the Howard Chucks and the Eisman, of course, Wayne and Mario. I always maintain that the two of the players from that era that we don't talk enough about, Brian Thrasher is one. The other is the Slovak Marian, Peter Stastny.
Peter Stastny.
One of the, and I remember being a kid, Pierre, and my dad telling me, this is before the first real tournament that resonated for me was 76 Canada Cup. I was too young for 72. 76 was the big one. And him telling me about Vlad Zarilla, and also him telling me about Peter Stastny and the Stastnys. And I remember as I went through high school and university and became a professional broadcaster or whatever I am, talking to Peter Stastny, and I asked him about 76. I said, like, my dad was the biggest fan of yours, and he kept telling me Stastny this, Stastny that, and the room, and that great team, and went to the final and lost to Team Canada, and Zarilla was amazing, and he was Dominik Hasek's favorite goaltender of all time, and he was like a refrigerator repairman who was a goalie on the side and one of the best of all time. And he was saying, he's like, the room was interesting because there weren't many of us Slovaks, but it wasn't as harmonious as you may have thought as a young man. I have all day for Peter Stastny. Well,
Peter was an amazing player. I was still coaching in the league when Peter was wrapping up, and not only was he a great player, Peter Stastny's been an amazing citizen of the world.
That's true.
He's done some unbelievable stuff in the Eurozone. And he's done so much to try to help less fortunate people. Peter Stastny's an amazing guy. He really is. And let's not forget, he had two boys that were pretty good players too.
Not bad.
They were both pretty good players. It's two sons, so yeah. Lots to celebrate on the Stastny side of hockey for sure.
Not too shabby at all. Let me leave you with this one.
Yep.
Of all the players that have changed, because October rolls around and we all sort of have that like jarring moment. We've seen the trades and the signings and all that, but it's really jarring when you see a player in his new uniform for the first time. And there are some that are pretty obvious. Like, listen, the first time I see Ryan Reeves in a San Jose jersey, I'm like, wow, just considering like everything between San Jose and Vegas, like it's just going to be jarring. Is there one player out there that you look at and you're like, man, I know it's coming, but watching that guy in that sweater is going to be jarring to me. To me, it's Reeves in San Jose.
Oh, I'd cede you that one because I know how bad the blood is between those two. It's terrible. I think I'm going to blow you away by this one and say, I still can't believe Brad Marchand is a member of the Florida Panthers.
Still, hey, yeah.
I can't, I thought in my heart of hearts there was going to be a massive auction to say, you know what, I had my fun here. I'm going to go somewhere else and try to make it work there.
Yeah.
I just think it speaks to the culture that he experienced down in South Florida, the camaraderie, the ability to win. The fact that he's still there, I find that unbelievably incredible. I really do.
Do you think that because the minute there became a salary cap, priorities changed for players? When the money is the money, and I think we all think that Brad Marchand probably could have made more money on the open market, but nonetheless, when the money is the money, people make decisions based on things that are not just necessarily the bottom line and the dollars and cents, quality of living, amenities, family raising opportunities, etc. To me, I just looked at that and said, if there wasn't a salary cap, I bet Brad Marchand makes a different decision. But we're in an era right now where you're making decisions that are not just based on money. Because if there are no salary cap, someone would have given him just something ridiculous, right? Someone would have. But when the money is the money, other things matter. And you look at how great a time all those players have and how they feel about one another. Anthony Stewart's dad used to always, and used to have this saying, and Stewie still talks about it: are you a team or are you a club? That's a team, right? Like that's a team. Those guys are like, I don't know that it's ever going to be like Esposito and Orr, where everybody goes to the bar after every game for at least one beer because that's what we do as a team. It's never going to be like that again. But is this the closest thing we've had to it? Maybe.
It's pretty darn, I'd say so. I don't want to, like, our teams in Pittsburgh were pretty tight. I'm very comfortable telling you that. I think those Chicago teams from probably 10 to 15, those Chicago teams are really tight. But this Florida team does something else that I haven't seen in a long time. They do whatever they have to do to win. They turn every game into a street fight. You hit one of their guys, they're going to hit three of your guys. That's just how they are. They believe in one another. They trust one another. A lot of them put their money where their mouth is and took less money to stay there. Think about if Aaron Ekblad goes to market, Jeff. Think about if Brad Marchand goes to market. A lot of those guys took way less money to stay there. Sam Bennett, I think if Sam goes to market, who knows what he gets paid. So,
yeah.
I have a lot of respect for what Billy Zito's built down there. I have a ton of respect for Paul Maurice and all those players that are down there winning. They're probably going to keep winning because they trust one another unbelievably.
I'll tell you what, when Ekblad, I'm glad you brought him up. When he re-signed with Florida, you know who I thought of right away? Utah Mammoth, who are sitting there thinking, you know what? We might have a new right side D for Mikhail Sergachev. And that,
yeah, but you're smart to say that because they traded Kesselring. They traded
Kesselring.
Buffalo for Peterka, and you're 100% right. That's a logical place, and I'm sure they probably had their hearts broken when they saw that he was saying
at a discount because they're winning cups. You've been great. Thanks so much for this as always. Enjoy. I don't know if any move has ever been enjoyable. I've never had an enjoyable move. So as enjoyable a move as a move can be, Pierre, I wish that upon you.
I'm fortunate to have Mrs. McGuire, who's had a lot of them over the course of our career together. So
okay.
This is the first one I've been home for, so I'm actually helping, which is good. As
my old friend Bill Waters would say, I go where I'm put. So when it comes to moving, I go where I'm put. Just tell me what to do, and I'll just go and do it. I go where I'm put.
Thank you, my friend.
You be well. We'll chat soon. Thanks, Pierre.
Talk. Thank you very much.
There he is, the great Pierre McGuire, who, listen, when I get together with Pierre, it just sort of, it kind of takes on a world of its own sometimes in the conversations. Well, Zach, I'll be honest with you, sometimes end up with the 60s and sometimes the 70s, and we try to draw parallels between all of it. I don't know if it's entertaining for anybody. I certainly hope that it is. But I like it. I don't know. Hey, here's one for you. You know how bored I was yesterday? Want to hear how bored I was yesterday?
How bored? Yeah, what did you do?
So I'm like, okay, so what are we going to talk about on Monday? The Porter Martone thing fell into our laps this morning. I went back and looked at recently defunct NHL teams. This is coming off who's going to be the last Atlanta Thrasher. Is it going to be Bogosian? Okay. Is it going to be Kane? And I went and hunted down of all the teams that have folded or moved, who was the last player from that organization to play in the NHL.
Okay.
You want to play this game?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to be bad at it, but let's do it.
Let's get some that you might know here. Who was the last player? Okay, you know what? Let's do this. We did Atlanta Thrashers. I want to do Atlanta Flames. He's one of my favorite players of all time. One of my favorite players of all time was the last Atlanta Flame in the history of the NHL. This is what summer shows are like, by the way, folks. We get together here on this. Who was the last? Frickin' Marek and Phillips were talking about on that damn show. Who was the last Atlanta Flame to play in the NHL? How bored are these guys? It's one of my favorite players.
So the Flames. Trying to think of like the time. I'm trying to put together time frames. The Flames would have been.
The hint to this one is he came back after being away for 3 years or 4 years, playing in Europe, and he came back and he played a handful of games with the Oilers. Hextall chopped him down in '87. They called him the Magic Man before Pavel Datsyuk, one of the great Swedish hockey players of all time.
Put
up sick numbers for the Flames and the Jets before him in the WHA. Kent Nilsson. Okay. One of my favorite players of all time.
That was not.
Kansas City Scouts, the last one, was a former Toronto Maple Leaf. Was one of only one of only a handful of other players to ever wear the number 99, including when he played in Toronto.
Nope, don't
Wolf
know.
Paymont. No.
Okay.
Colorado Rockies was Joe Cirella, one of Greg Wyshynski's. I remember being at what was the name of the place? When the draft was in New Jersey, Wish and I had an MVSW meetup at a sports bar in New York, which has since been closed down. And Dubas brought all the coaching staff from the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds to the party, and Joe Cirella, who's the answer, was one of them. And Greg Wyshynski, Wolf Paymont. No, that's not WILF. That's a different Paymont. Thank you very much. Greg Wyshynski just popped like the cork out of a champagne bottle when he saw Joe Cirella, ex-New Jersey Devils defenseman, I should point out as well. There's like all these like hockey personalities there, and there's like, oh my God, Joe Cirella. For the California Golden Seals and the Cleveland Barons, it was former 60-goal scorer with the Washington Capitals? No. Dennis Maruk? No?
No.
All right, last one for the Quebec Nordiques. He's on an NHL bench as a head coach right now.
On a bench head coach.
Yeah,
right
recently
now.
hired this offseason head coach with an NHL team, was the last player to suit up for the Quebec Nordiques in the NHL. Last Nordique in the history of the league.
No, go. Just do it, go. My brain is just not.
Does anybody have it here in the chat? No, not yet. No, it is Adam Foote. He coaches the Vancouver Canucks. They're out there in British Columbia.
Yeah.
West is like anything west of Etobicoke doesn't really exist for Maple Leafs fans. I shouldn't say that. West of Oakville doesn't exist for Maple Leafs fans. But there is a team in British Columbia called the Vancouver Canucks, and they have a great defenseman, one that I think should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame because he was a defensive defenseman, who's now coaching the team in Adam Foote.
Yes.
There are teams out west, by the way. Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton.
I should have got that.
Vancouver Canucks.
I should have been able to get that one.
Okay. Here's a tough one. Hartford Whalers. Jean-Sebastien Giguère.
No.
J.S. Giguère.
Really?
Yep. Jiggy.
Huh.
Yep. He was a second-round pick of the Whalers. And the Minnesota North Stars. You should get this one. You're going to redeem yourself with North Stars. It's an obvious one.
Modano?
There you go. Attaboy. He's back from Portugal.
I've got the jersey.
He's getting back.
Have the jersey.
He's getting back. Last Minnesota North Star in the NHL was Mike Modano. You redeemed yourself, by the way. Did you, by the way, so you pointed out, you texted me this, Chara and McAvoy was a 20-year gap between those two when McAvoy was obviously a rookie and was paired with Chara. And Chelios and Bogosian, 28 years between them.
So the problem that I had, because I went and found it, and then a couple people in the chat, including Randy, pointed out the Chara McAvoy one was the answer they got when they went and looked it up. So I think what happened here is that if you search this up, because I started doing some more research after you texted me back, is the Chelios Bogosian one was not technically considered a defensive pair because it wasn't sustained. They played 1 or 2 games together according to record where they were listed as defensive part, listed, not like a shift or something, but actually listed. Whereas Chara and McAvoy were a sustained pair. So that's why it comes up as Chara and McAvoy were the biggest gap. Whereas if you keep digging and pushing, then you can find that Chelios and Bogosian played together, but they weren't considered a pair, if that makes sense.
But they were paired. They were. I watched Atlanta Thrashers games, watching them watching them go side to side and pass the puck to each other.
But I think they went. I think what I was. I'm just what I was able to get back from what I was reading is that they went out together, but they weren't a pair. I know that's a shake your head moment, but that's the answer that I was receiving. So, but you are right. They were the oldest or biggest gap to go out. You know what's funny though about the Chara one?
Ignore the evidence of your eyes was their final command.
Yeah. So the Chara one is funny though because if we go, let's remove this Chelios Bogosian one. If you go to the Chara set it, the record of the biggest gap, the record of sustained defensive pairs with Brendan Carlo. The next season, he got a new defensive partner and had a new record because it was Charlie McAvoy, who was 1 year younger. 1 year.
He was 1 year older.
1 year older. Yeah.
Sorry, Brando.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry about your luck, bud.
Yeah. So I thought that was funny.
All right. Summer shows continue. I'm going to be curious to see what you come up with for this one. The sheet is powered by FanDuel. Oh, yes, it is. It is the home of the same game parlay. Make every moment more on FanDuel. It's Monday, July 21st. FanDuel is proud to connect fans to the major sports moments that matter to them. No matter where you are, you may find a flag with a picture of Steve Yzerman on it in Beijing, like me. Hockey is everywhere. It doesn't matter what day of the year it is. You can always talk about hockey. Right, Zach Phillips? And what are we bringing
that is
from
correct.
FD today?
Well, as you know, there's no team that matters outside of the Greater Toronto area. Actually, I think it changed now. I think it's the GTHA, maybe, the Greater Toronto Halton area or something. I don't know. Well, anyways,
really,
it's always about the Maple Leafs.
How did I miss that one? Okay, Halton Hurricanes. Matthew Schaefer.
Yeah.
Now that Matthew Schaefer's in the NHL, Toronto's claiming Matthew Schaefer as one of their own. He's not Halton. He never played for the Hurricanes. No. He just is played in the area. It's a Toronto Halton area.
His return home.
Okay, very good.
But it's always about the Maple Leafs. So
he kisses.
FanDuel has a pretty cool market. We have who will score more points next season.
Okay.
Mitch Marner or Austin Matthews in the regular season. Mitch Marner minus 142. Austin Matthews plus 114.
Marner. I'm guessing he'll play with Eichel. He won't play with Hurdle. Mitch Marner gets more points than Austin Matthews. How about this one? Mitch Marner, higher or lower? 105 points. I'll go higher.
I will go
I think he's going to set a
higher.
career record next year. Playing with Eichel, who's in the last year of his deal, by the way.
Yeah, that's another important piece.
That's another important piece.
Mm-hmm.
How much cap space the Bruins going to have available. I mean, how much cap space their team's going to have available. No one's tampering. No one's just going to draw a line between Eichel and the Boston Bruins and their need for center. Local boy comes home story. Anyhow.
You're gonna get us. You're gonna
I
get us
can't tamper. I can't tamper.
Soft. This is soft.
That's right.
Tampering.
This is soft tampering.
Soft.
Oh, that was a great phrase. Mild treason. Soft tampering. That was Andlauer, right?
Soft.
That was Michael Andlauer?
Yes, it was.
Ottawa.
Yes.
I like Andlauer. Andlauer, by the way, I think was it Garriock that reported this, was one of the teams that said, like, no, we don't want this decentralized draft nonsense. It's important for us to have everybody together. Good on Michael Andlauer. Good on Michael Andlauer.
So I got an opportunity to say this to you, and I don't want to drag the show out here forever, but who the hell watched that draft? Experienced that draft
People
and went, yep, we got to do this next year.
I know. They won't do it like that. First of all, they got to make it quick. They know this. They got to make it quicker. I don't think doing the Zoom call where the player feels like he's being fired over Zoom. I don't think they're going to do that again.
standing wearing the
Hi,
team
boss.
jersey in front of the mega screen of their new boss. No, no more, please.
No, they'll make it like. I feel bad for Steve Mayer. Listen, the NHL doesn't want it. Like, NHL doesn't want it. Fans don't want it. Agents don't want it. Players don't want it. Like, nobody wants it except a bunch of the teams that just want to save the buck and have everything in a nice, controlled, tidy environment. And which is why, like, the next time we hear people talk about doing things for the good of the game, don't listen to it. Just don't. It's easy to say good of the game when it's not your money involved. Do this for the good of the game. Oh, we got to do this for the good of the game. Oh, this is what I have to do for the good of the game. You know what's good for the game? Having an event where the whole hockey world comes together. Or making draft picks feel special. Welcome to the NHL. We're going to make our draft pick feel so special, we're going to address him on Zoom.
Yeah.
As far as putting together an entertaining property, this is over to Steve Mayer and the NHL. I think the first thing they'll probably address is the time they do it. Yeah. Like, honestly, like, if it's not going to be like, here, come meet your team, like, part of me just wants to say, just put the pics on NHL.com. Just, you know what they are, like, just put it up on NHL.com.
Yeah.
Put it up on your social media.
Look, selfishly, from the media standpoint.
Hang on, can I do one more real quick? I think I threw this out while you were gone, when incarcerated Vic was producing the program.
Hostage Vic.
Hold up a newspaper, Vic. Let us know you're alive.
Vic's blinking in Morse code.
What was I thinking? Oh, yeah. You know what the NHL should do? Any team wants to come can come. Shame them. Ottawa would be there, and I'd be like, I'll be there. I'll bring my table.
Yep.
And all the fans, how come my team doesn't want to do it? Oh, they didn't want to spend. And while you were gone too, the low mark was $100,000 for how much. I did a little snooping around on this one. The low end was $100,000. The high end was $1 million. I don't know who's spending $1 million to schlep their team around to go to the draft or where they're putting them up.
Oh, to go to the draft?
Yeah, for a team. Yeah, no, I should have made that. Sorry, I should have framed that better. Because the reason a lot of it too is financial, but also,
I get
managers want closed quarters and have all their resources there, and then not have to get everybody to the airport and on planes to come back to do free agency. By the way, all of this is solved if you do a shorter NHL season. I just want to throw that out there. If you get the playoffs out of June, you can do the draft earlier and teams can show up as you remove excuses. But we're not going that direction, Zach. We are going the other direction and adding games and having comments about play-in rounds and all this on top of an international schedule and whittling these players down to the end of their careers where they're just ribs and teeth and there's nothing more left to them because they've been the elite players, that is, work so hard. But yeah, just just say, you know what, here's the deal. You want to come, we'll accommodate you. Let us know by the start of the playoffs if you're coming or not.
Yeah.
And we'll accommodate and we'll provide tables.
That's a good idea. I like that. Also, who the hell is spending $1 million? That's
no. Here's the thing.
God,
so what I again,
budget better.
What I was told, and this person said to me, I think like the average that teams spend is something around the $200,000. I guess it's $200,000 to $300,000 that they would between like flights and meals and hotels and all that. But the $100,000 is $100,000 and $1 million are the two complete outliers here. Everyone else is more along the 250 to 300 or 200 to 300. That's from someone who's quote unquote, as I like to say, in a position to know. Read into that
gotcha.
What you want. Did you have any other final thoughts on that issue that burned while you were away in the land of cork diving dogs and lemons?
No, Ronaldo statues. Seriously, no, it was the draft. The draft was annoying because I was like, why are we doing this again? I also just like the drama. Two parts. Like selfishly, I like the drama of like, oh, this guy got up to talk to that guy. A lot of times they might just be saying hi. Like, who the hell knows? But I like it. It gets reported, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay, it's fun. We just speculate and it creates attention. Yeah. The other part is it's cool for the kids. Like, I have a buddy who was drafted in the 4th round. He was at the draft. It's because he was closer to us, but he was at the draft when he's got a picture of him wearing the jersey, wearing the hat, shaking the GM's hand. Like, he never played in the NHL, but he's going to have that forever. He's got T-shirts. I have T-shirts from the team he was drafted by. I have hats from the draft because they gave him hats and shirts for his buddies to take on. Like, those things.
Can I guess who it is?
Yeah, go. You know.
Is it Jonathan Ang?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
so
it is? Okay.
I have Florida Panthers hats and
okay.
T-shirts. Yeah, I've got Panthers stuff. Yeah. But, like, it's just cool. Like, that's an experience that a lot of these kids will never get. And, like, he never played in a game in the NHL. He did score on Carey Price in a preseason game. That was cool. But
that's all right.
Like, he's going to have that stuff forever. And some of these guys just won't have it. But the other thing, which I don't want to get into today, but we can revisit this in the future. I saw clips of you talking about load management, and my head was going to explode. And I was like, let's just enjoy this vacation. I'll deal with this when we get there. Load management to the NHL.
It's coming.
You're right. It's coming. And I don't disagree with you, but this fucking bullshit. It should not be coming. I'm sorry.
Coming.
We went the whole show swearing. It's bullshit.
Let me give one of my favorite. You were talking about Jonathan Ang and drafted by the Florida Panthers and having all the swag and all that. Kids get drafted in the first round. They get the jersey and the hat and the whole deal. It's awesome. I love watching kids back at the hotel who are still wearing the jersey, getting on the bus to go to the still wearing the jersey. going to fly home the next day, still wearing the jersey. Okay, like all that stuff is I don't know. I'm a geek, so that stuff's cool to me. Luc Robitaille told me a story when he was drafted by the Los Angeles Kings, 1984 draft. He was drafted in the 9th round. Let me get this here, 171st overall. They had nothing for him when he made his way down to the table to meet the team, except for someone, I guess it must have been a scout, had a LA Kings pin, took it off, and gave it to Luke.
That's good.
Well, we
That's
got
good.
Nothing. Welcome to the Kings, future Hall of Famer, future one of the best left wingers the game has ever saw. Want a pin?
Oh, it's good. I like that.
It's good, eh?
Yeah.
Get a pin.
Yeah.
Listen,
one of my
your
buddies,
buddy got more than Luc Robitaille got. Okay.
Yes. Well, you want to hear
Taking a pin.
one other one of my friends. He got drafted by an original 6 franchise.
No such thing as original 6, by the way, but okay.
Yeah, I intentionally said that just to get you to
thanks.
respond.
Having a nice
but
summer too.
He went to the development camp and he told us, and I've seen all the gear he came home with. They walked in. He said they walked into this room, all the prospects, all the rookies, all the kids, whatever, and it was tables laid out around the room. Sweaters, shorts, under stuff, T-shirts, hats, and they told them, take whatever you can carry. And he said he went hoodies, jackets, hats, shorts. He's walking out, socks he's got. I'm like, dude, you don't even need that. He's like, yeah, but they were offering it. I'm like,
free stuff.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Like the guy,
so
the guy at the end of the party that's
things.
like, all right, I got to go home. And he pulls out a bag and he starts like throwing tins in it.
Yeah, exactly.
That guy?
Yeah, yeah. So he said they went in and they just said, whatever you can carry out of here, grab. And then he just loaded up on everything. 1 or 2 of everything. I go, why not? If you can, why not?
The never hungry league. The
Yep.
never hungry league. It's always
Exactly.
It's always stuff, man. It's so good. I don't know. Do we miss much today? Did much else really kind of happen that we should note upon? Gabe Vilardi got a deal. That's avoids arbitration. I guess this is the arbitration week. Your Leafs got Dakota Joshua. So from sleeping in during the playoffs with the St. Louis Blues to being reunited with Craig Berube, Dakota Joshua is back, baby. The Leafs are going to try to out-panther the Panthers, baby.
Yeah, well, I don't like that concept, but I do like Dakota
But you
Joshua.
see it happening.
I'm glad at that.
You see it happening.
Yeah.
Okay, I was having a conversation. Okay, I was having this conversation with my buddy Chris, he's got a kid on my son's baseball team, and so we were driving together to and fro between Aberdeen and Stouffville, and let me know what you think about this. There's one player that your Maple Leafs have never recovered from losing, like this current edition of the Maple Leafs. Room was his, brought something to the team that nobody else did, that nobody else since has done. Never gets talked about, ever, but the Leafs miss him more than anyone else, in my opinion. Who is that mystery player?
Well, because you're going to say never talked about, I was going to go Kadri, but that's not.
No, not Kadri.
Jake Muzzin.
Jake Muzzin's a guy.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
As much as it was John Tavares' team, because he had wore the C, that was Muzzin's room. Muzzin's team. Nobody played like that.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
When
so you agree with that? I mean, you're a lot closer to following the Maple Leafs than I am.
Very much. Yeah. I do agree with that. So what I was gonna say, like when I started doing this, I was very much on the outside. I was just watching games, reading every single article, listening to podcasts. You could visibly see a change in, I don't want to say like the character, but like the mindset or approach of the team when Muzzin got here. Like, you could see it in the interviews. You could see it in their media. You saw it when he was on the ice with the guys at practice. Like, it kind of shifted. And then when he was experiencing the injuries, you could see when he came out of the lineup, it just felt and looked different each time. Yep. And then the final loss of him, like the final blow where that was it. It was like, as a fan, it was like devastating. I'm like, I can't believe we lost this guy. Like, you can't replace that.
No.
It's every team wants it. It's hard to find.
Every team wants it. All right, on that we'll hustle. So here's the schedule. I'm back. I think it's next Tuesday. Next Tuesday we're back doing shows. Got it?
Whatever you want.
All right, you're back, like fully back on board.
Yeah. That's all.
You traveling?
That was it. My vacation's out of the way. I got one of my good buddies' weddings on August long weekend, and that's it.
All right.
If the show goes somewhere, I go. If the Leaf show goes somewhere, I go. But other than that, no more vacations, no more trips, nothing.
All right.
It's hockey.
Well, welcome back. I'm glad you guys had a great experience.
That's fun.
And you'd go back. Yeah, you'd go back to Portugal.
100%. Yeah, I would go back.
I've always wanted to go. I'm not jealous at all. Nope.
It's beautiful.
No, it looks gorgeous. Frick, dude, it looks fantastic. Good for you. Glad you had that one. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for leaving comments. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for doing all of it. We're going to continue on, keep the feed hot, and keep talking with you all summer long as information becomes available to us and things continue to happen in the hockey world, whether it's at the NHL level or, as we had a pretty big conversation today about Porter Martone leaving the OHL to join Michigan State University. It'll all be discussed and debated and chewed up and spit out here on the sheet. Again, we're back next Tuesday for the August part of the summer schedule. Until then, enjoy your week. We'll talk to you in 8 days. Conduct yourselves accordingly. And as always, make good decisions, everybody. Make good decisions. If you enjoyed that video, and we certainly hope that you do, please hit the subscribe button right there here at Daily Faceoff. I will put this lineup up against any hockey lineup anywhere. It all gets underway at 9 o'clock Eastern with Morning Cup of Hockey. That is Johnny Lazarus. That is Colby Cohen. Then at noon, it's DFO Live. And then 3 o'clock Eastern, The Sheet. Get caught up on everything in hockey.